So good afternoon and welcome to Let's Get Healthy in Ferndale. This is a meetup group that I think we are, in our 6th week or 7th week, something like that. And initially we began where we were meeting every Tuesday at 12 o'clock here at the Ferndale Assembly of God. We've gone to kind of an every other week format through the summer, and we're hoping though that the attendance will continue to build and that we will have a good audience here. But Mike, really, we are grateful that we can meet here and meet in this place in particular, just because wherever we go, we like to take God with us, and the fact that we can meet in a godly place is even better. So, yeah. Today, what we're going to talk about is a very simple thing, and it's it's called garbage in, garbage out. And what I mean by that, there's a couple of things that that happen. I think we all know the phrase, oh, hello. How are you? Anyway, my name's Tom. You're Marta? Good, nice to meet you.
And I'm Susan. And I'm Mike.
So what we're going to talk about today ultimately is our digestive health. But the phrase, the title for what we're talking about today is garbage in, garbage out. I think everyone's probably familiar with the phrase, oops, there we go, what you are what you eat. And then there's a corollary to that, garbage in, garbage out. Well, you are what you eat because what we take into our body, we all understand the impact of diet, nutrition, and that sort of thing. So it's a very common phrase in our world. That other phrase, garbage in, garbage out, refers to something a little different. So we understand at some level that what we put in our body, what we put on our body, ultimately something will have to leave our body. It's the way God designed it. And so garbage in, garbage out. If you bring in bad stuff will go out. But there's something that happens as a middle step, something that's in between the in and the out. And it's our digestive system, it's our gut health. It's what determines what comes into our body, what stays into our body, and then ultimately helps decide what leaves our body and what goes. So garbage in, garbage out. What is the messy middle? And the messy middle is our digestive system. So we're going to talk about various things today. I'm going to do a brief introduction of myself and kind of my background. We're going to talk about microbiota and gut flora and what those terms mean. The overall sense of what digestive health is and what that means, digestive enzymes, what they are, what their function is within our body, probiotics, what probiotics are, prebiotics, what that is, and how the three, enzymes, probiotics, prebiotics, work together. And then the final area is how do you know whether you need it or not? How do you know if you need to change your diet, to have a supplement, something that says, I'm going to change the quality of my digestive health? I am a retired healthcare professional. It was almost 6 years ago. I had a colonoscopy. I was 59 at the time, and I was told, why did you wait till you were 59 to have your first one? So hopefully you've had them well before that at my age. But it was revealed during the colonoscopy, or at the end of the colonoscopy, that there was a little itty-bitty tumor, something really small, just forming. It was no longer a polyp, but it needed to be addressed. And it required what they call a colon resection. It's fairly major surgery. But it was so small and it was so new that they felt like I didn't need to have a whole procedure. What I needed was a laparoscopic procedure. And so it's like, okay, so a 2-hour process basically under the surgeon's care. I'm not even sure when I woke up, but it was the next day. And I woke up with an oncologist in my face, and the oncologist hands me a business card about at 6 in the morning, and he says, here, I want you to call me when you get out of the hospital, give it a week or so, and we'll set up our first appointment. And I just looked at the guy and went, who are you? Why are you here? I had no idea what happened. During the surgery, they discovered that the cancer that was in the tumor had already gotten out of the little itty-bitty tumor, and it was spread through my entire midsection, my liver, organs, kidney, lungs, you name the organ. And it wasn't just in one little thing in one spot or every spot. It was a surgery that ultimately took over 8 hours to complete. And so they opened me up, they had to move all the organs around, and it was a fun time for all. Not. But that's when my journey began. See, up until that point, I was in the healthcare profession. I was in behavioral health, so mental health, substance abuse. I worked a lot in homeless services. I worked a lot in rehab services. I thought I was living a healthy life, and I thought I understood that the diet that I was eating was a good, healthy diet. But I was surprised. I was shocked. I was really, those are understatements. I was filled with anxiety and worry. And it's like, what happened here? I'm feeling good. I wasn't really having any problems, and yet I got this surprise. It was quite a journey. Post-surgery, it's had a significant impact in my life. One of those things is that the career that I was in management, worked for a community mental health agency. At the time, I was a deputy director of an agency. I could not go back to do what I had been doing. My concentration was off. My energy was not good. Every day I would wake up and I'd look at a scar on my body and I'd go, my God, what happened to me? It was just a bad circumstance. So, but I started looking into things like, what happened? How did this happen? And there were two things that came to me, and two things that I had conveniently overlooked. And the first is that what we digest in our body, and our whole digestive system, matters. The other thing that came out was that how we eliminate food, how we eliminate toxins, how we eliminate chemicals from our body also matters. So we know the garbage in, garbage out. I just never really thought about the messy middle and what it meant as it related to how we eliminate waste, how we eliminate toxins, how we eliminate stuff from our body. So in order for nutrients or minerals to really be effective, they have to be broken down, they have to be distributed throughout our entire body. And if the food is not adequately broken down, then we lose the nutrient value, we lose the minerals, we lose all the things, the energy, all the stuff that's supposed to happen when we're living our lives. It's also true that even if we eat all of the right food, if nutrients aren't properly eliminated, then toxins or poisons will begin to accumulate in our organs, they'll accumulate in our blood, and that will then be distributed throughout our body. It'll be distributed continually throughout our day, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. It's a delicate balance between nutrients, between our diet, and how we process food, how we process things that we apply to our body, and how we eliminate, how we get rid of all that waste. But it's intrinsically woven into our DNA, into our molecular structure within our body, because I believe that we have an internal self-sufficient healthcare system that's within us. It's what we eat, it's how we digest it and process it, and it is how we eliminate it. It's how our bodies were designed. It's how God designed it. We're going to move into a couple of definitions. So the first one is microbiota. Microbiota is what researchers are now calling the forgotten organ. It is a part. It's our bacteria that's in our gut. It's a system that's within our bodies. It's also called frequently the gut flora. So you'll hear that term used quite a bit. But it's a complex system of bacteria, of viruses, of fungi that are intrinsically woven into our digestional system, into our digestive tract. And there are just several hundreds of types of bacteria or strains of bacteria that are in us that are supposed to be in us. Much of the research around digestive health, and this is partly why it's called the forgotten organ, is that it's really only been in the last 20 years that researchers have begun to look at what it is. Prior to that, there was a lot of stuff on health, nutrition, exercise, water, the importance of various things. But as it related specifically to our gut health or gut flora, it was frequently overlooked. And it's a critical thing. Our bodies are complex, right? We all know this. And it involves an amazing interdependence between what we eat, what we digest, and what we eliminate. I think I've said that at least twice already. But I want you to understand that these things all go together. If we simply focus on our nutrition, or if we simply focus on our diet, we're going to overlook certain things. We're going to overlook those things and maybe not understand fully what we're eating, what we think may be healthy, maybe not so healthy. Or if there's other things that happen to our body external that we didn't intend, like medications, antibiotics, that sort of stuff, it's going to affect our digestive health. And so simply having a change in diet or believing you have a good diet may be great, but if you have these external things that occur also, then it is not as powerful. The system is not going to be wired the way it's wired, the way it's supposed to be. One of the things about gut flora, or the microbiota, is that it contains over 1,000 various types of bacteria. Many of them are good bacteria, but there are some that are not so great, and there are some that are really bad. Oops. And actually, I'm going to repeat that. I just found the slide. Anyway, but there are good bacteria, there's bad bacteria, and then there's some bacteria that's really bad, and we want to avoid. Our digestive health, it's really a balance of the gut flora, and it can be easily altered by many things. But one of the things that is now being appreciated, and I hope comes out clearly, is that our gut health is linked to many different disease states or illness states, including obesity, inflammatory bowel syndrome, or IBS, as it's frequently known, colon cancer, and the type of cancer I had, of course, is in my colon, liver cancer, the type of cancer I had was also in my liver, type 2 diabetes, a lot of allergic diseases. There's recent studies that are linking our gut health to cardiovascular disease and really autism, which really surprised me. When I started in my healthcare career 35 years ago, the rate of autism in this country was roughly 1 in 1,200 births. Today, for boys, it's 1 in 54. It's an amazing statistic. You can look at the diagnostic codes, and diagnostic codes change over time. So you can say, well, maybe there's more refinement in the diagnoses, maybe there's more refinement in how we look at things, maybe that's part of what contributes to that change. But there's so many other variables and factors that go into it that I don't believe it's simply improvements in how we diagnose and how we look at things. It's also all the chemicals that have been put into products since 1984 that we begin to use, apply, eat, ingest, apply to our bodies, and we do them every day. And so the rate of autism has just exploded. 1 in 54 births for boys are going to be diagnosed with autism. Our gut health is it's compromised really in 4 separate ways. And the first one is diet. So that's the main focus today. So processed foods. We love going to Costco. Susan loves taking me out on a date so she can help me have processed food at Costco. And I'm a cheap date. So I like to go. But most of that food, even if it's organic, most of that food is processed. It's processed in some fashion. Meat fed with antibiotics would be another example, because the antibiotics carry through into the meat, they carry through into what we eat. And an antibiotic, I'll revisit this in a moment, but antibiotics, they don't discriminate in what they kill. They kill bacteria. They don't make the differentiation between what's good bacteria, what's bad bacteria, what's very bad bacteria. They simply destroy bacteria. That's what it does. The way we cook food matters. So anything that's heated over 120 degrees, actually I think technically it's 117, but I could be wrong, will begin to take away the nutrient value of food. And so the live nature, the live enzymes, or the live probiotics that may be in food, all that goes away or begins to go away and deteriorates simply by the way we cook our food. So eating raw vegetables, eating raw apples, eating, we won't say raw meat. But you know what I'm saying? There's a point in there where how we prepare things also matters and how it makes a difference. The second area that really affects our gut health is what we drink. So our water supply has fluoride in it. It also has chlorine in it. And the chlorine is designed to kill bacteria. And again, it doesn't differentiate between good bacteria or bad bacteria. It simply kills the bacteria. And so the more water we drink, if it has chlorine in it, if it has fluoride in it, those kinds of things affect our gut health. So distilled water, as an example, is far better for promoting good bacteria than just regular tap water, even spring water. Generally speaking, it's better for your health than even spring water. The third way is prescription medications or over-the-counter medications. I mentioned already that bacteria or antibiotics, it doesn't discriminate in what it attacks. It wreaks havoc on our body. It kills bacteria, but the other thing it also does is it helps prevent good bacteria from multiplying, any bacteria really from multiplying. But you want multiplication in the bacteria, the good bacteria in your body. The fourth way that it affects us is what we apply to our body, what we apply to our skin or other parts of our body. So antibacterial soaps, toothpaste, shampoo, anything in it that has anything antimicrobial in it is going to affect the good bacteria that exists in our bodies. Now, there are three main types of digestive functions or things in our body. And the first is digestive enzymes. It's something that we're born with. It's something that decreases over time. And in fact, with digestive enzymes, beginning around the age 30, our bodies begin to not produce, our livers don't produce enzymes the way they would when we were younger. So you get to be my age, I'm 31, but you get to be my age, my liver is probably producing about 30-35% of the natural enzymes that would have produced when, if I was, I'm guessing you're 19, so you know what I mean, when someone who's a lot younger. So it just happens, it's a natural function of aging. Our bodies, it's part of the main function of our liver is to create these digestive enzymes. We're also going to talk about probiotics and what that is in our body, and prebiotics, because these are all bodily functions that are inherent with our gut system. Digestive enzymes, they absorb nutrients. They absorb nutrients from the food, and it helps break the food down into smaller components or into chemical substances so that it helps with the absorption process, and it's assimilated into our digestional system. It's ultimately digested into our bloodstream as well. But it breaks down, enzymes break down foods in three categories. And depending on the enzyme, it could be carbohydrates, it could be protein, it could be fats. So not every enzyme has the same function. And as our bodies age, then we can also lose maybe particular enzymes that address certain situations, like how your body processes carbohydrates would be one example. But we need them, and it's in our body. They're designed, enzymes are designed to speed up biological reactions. It reduces the energy in our body that's required to transform food into molecules. So it is, it just speeds up the whole process, but in speeding it up, it also makes it more efficient, and it takes actually less energy. The less enzymes we have, the more energy it takes to digest food. Molecules then pass through our intestines, and ultimately it goes through our blood system and circulates throughout our entire body. But it is a natural process of aging, and as we age, our ability to produce those types of enzymes goes down. Enzymes work with probiotics. Both are essential for healthy, efficient digestive, for an overall digestive wellness. There's a difference between them, though. Enzymes are proteins, and they're non-living proteins, and they're composed primarily of amino acids. Probiotics are living organisms. They're living organisms. Probiotics can help produce enzymes, but ultimately they don't produce very much. Really what produces enzymes is a healthy liver functioning. Probiotics is defined as this. Probiotics are the strains of bacteria that live in our intestines and are most closely associated with the overall digestive health. Pro means what? For. or in support of. Well, biotics refers to what? Living organisms. So probiotics is a term, it's really a life-giving force. It is the good bacteria that's supposed to be in our body that's essential. You like that word? It's essential to the proper functioning of our bodies. So we need them. We need probiotics to be in our food. We need it in some cases. If we don't produce it, then we may need to supplement in some fashion. But it helps us regain that function in our digestive system. As we begin to lose it, we have to alter either our diet or supplement in some fashion where we can fully digest the food that we have. Probiotics replaces what has been spent in our body. So good bacteria doesn't live forever. It dies, much like everything else dies. But sometimes I look at it now as a civil war is existing inside our body. And the civil war is the good bacteria and the bad bacteria fighting each other for limited space. It's kind of like a weed in a lawn. So as the weed roots extend and grow, you're going to get more weeds, right? And it ultimately begins to take the lawn and change it into something different. It's the same thing with bad bacteria. In the really bad bacteria, then you get the really bad weeds. So all of a sudden it begins to take over. And obviously you don't want that, because that's what helps to begin to introduce those disease states, the autoimmune deficiencies, the type 2 diabetes, the cancer, and that sort of stuff. So we need to have good probiotics, and we need to have the probiotics continue to grow so that it's just replacing the old that's been lost, and it then begins to combat and fight the bad and begin to win that battle. Any questions so far? Just about probiotics or about enzymes?
So will the probiotics actually replace the enzymes that we're not producing anymore?
They don't replace enzymes. What they do, enzymes are kind of like fertilizer. And so what they do is they feed the good bacteria. And this is, to me, it's interesting because good digestive health, the enzymes will feed good bacteria. They tend not to feed bad bacteria. So unlike an antibiotic, which just kills everything, every bacteria, an enzyme will feed the probiotics. It'll feed the good bacteria.
Is there any way to replace the enzymes that are?
The only way to do it is to change your diet to things that are enzyme friendly. Or to supplement with things that are enzyme friendly. And part of it's just a natural function of our body. So we can expect that as we age, that there will be things that change. Probiotics is the life-giving force, and I don't know. I think it's a good distinction that the enzymes are really like fertilizer. It helps it grow, but it's not a living organism in and of itself. The probiotics are. But there is another component to it that's a part of our natural living. It's part of our natural eating, and those are prebiotics. And they play a very different role than the probiotics. Prebiotics, it's a fiber. It's a soluble fiber that is used mostly by good bacteria as fuel. So enzymes kind of act as a fertilizer. Same with prebiotics. They act as a fertilizer and help power up the probiotics. But it's a fiber. It's also not a living organism. Probiotics, of course, are living organisms. But we need all three. Our bodies are designed, we were wired that way to have all three elements. So if you think about how probiotic works, is that it feeds the good bacteria. Our colon is an oxygen-free, warm environment that induces the growth of bacteria. And so if you're going to have bacteria, if you have something that's designed in your body for bacteria to grow, then you're going to want to be feeding it the right stuff. And so we're designed that way, and the prebiotics are that fertilizer. They provide the fuel. Enzymes will do much the same thing. Prebiotics are not digested in our small intestine. I was surprised by that. It passes through completely. So some foods that would be considered prebiotic would be bananas, would be onions, chicory root, chicory beans are a few. There's a much longer list. I don't know how often anybody has chicory, but you know what I'm saying? It's like there's a certain function that bananas have, but the banana itself is not digested into or not broken down into our small intestine. It passes through completely. And any of the things that is considered a prebiotic will do that. That's one of the definitions. There's really two known examples of prebiotics that have gotten a lot of study. The major one is one called inulin. Inulin. I-N-U-L-I-N. Inulin. The other one, it's a name that I can't pronounce, but Holly-golly fructose. I don't know. It's a long name. There's a few other things that might meet that definition of not being digested into the small intestine and being that fertilizer for all types of bacteria, or actually, and particularly for good bacteria. Not necessarily, it doesn't fuel bad bacteria; it fuels good bacteria. But a lot of them that are out there have not been studied, and they're not as widely dispersed through the planet. In other words, inulin is in roughly 35,000 different plants. It's everywhere in the world. Chicory you don't find everywhere in the world, right? You don't find bananas everywhere in the world. So there are certain types of a prebiotic that are available everywhere in the world, not just here. So that has gotten the most study. And if you supplement, if you take anything to help create a better fuel to your digestive system, make sure it has inulin in it. Because if it doesn't, then it's not going to be as effective as anything else. The average person in the U.S. Gets very little prebiotic in their daily diet. We only get, on average, 2 to 3 grams. Europeans get 3 to 5 times that, so 10 to 15 grams per day, as opposed to the 2 to 3 that we get. And 2 to 3, or the 10 to 15 is a far better, more appropriate number for our overall lifestyle. 70% of what we eat in this country, where we get prebiotics, it comes from wheat, and it comes from onions. So onions are great, but if you're eating wheat that's bleached, enriched, or grown in an environment where there's a lot of glyphosate, a lot of Roundup that's used, and that's the primary Roundup. Glyphosate is the key ingredient in Roundup. Then you're eating wheat, but you're also eating wheat that is poisoned. Poisoned with other substances. So, 2 to 3 grams per day, if that's what the average U.S. diet is, and you get 70% of those 2 to 3 grams per day, and you're getting it from product that is not great, then you're really not helping yourself. Mike, what we're talking about now is like prebiotics. It's a soluble fiber. It's something that is vastly under used in our diet, in the American diet. So a typical U.S. citizen is going to have 2 to 3 grams of prebiotics in your diet per day. And what the prebiotic is that it fuels the growth of good bacteria. It's kind of like fertilizer. And in the growth of it, you need it to have good bacteria continue to flourish and grow. It does not help bad bacteria, which I find interesting. So, as I mentioned earlier, antibiotics attacks everything and kills every bacteria. But a prebiotic only feeds the good. It does not feed the bad. So prebiotics, probiotics, they go hand in hand. Prebiotics is the fuel to growth. It's the fuel to grow good bacteria. That is the probiotics in our system. Now, you may hear about probiotic supplements that are out there. You have to have a prebiotic that goes with it. Because if you don't have that fertilizer that's promoting the growth, it helps to have the probiotic, whether it's in your diet or a supplement, but you're not getting the full value of it. So you have to have the prebiotic that goes with it. Also, while you were out, Mike, in the typical American diet, 70% of that 2 to 3% grams that we get of prebiotic, we get it from wheat. And so if you're eating white bread, enriched flour, that sort of thing that's been treated with glyphosate or Roundup, which most of it is, then you're taking into your body a different kind of poison, because that stuff does transfer through. So how would you know whether you should supplement or not? And I don't mean supplement like products, but change your diet, change your eating, change what you're drinking, that sort of stuff. And there are some key indicators. Well, that would be one. If you can fog a mirror, if you got a pulse, then yes, you probably need it. But folks who are already healthy, and you see this primarily in younger adults, but you see it some in folks our age. But if you're already healthy and your blood work and everything has always been good, then your diet's fine. You're processing food fine. You're eliminating fine. You probably don't need to do a whole lot. But the folks who really do need to pay attention, one of those things would be folks who are on prescription medications. As I'm telling you, if you're on an antibiotic medication, or if you're on anything that's going to affect the pH balance in your blood, in your body, all that stuff works together to help kill good bacteria. And antibiotics in particular, they're there for a reason. Antibiotics are there to what? Basically fight infection. So there's a need for it. But folks who are regularly on prescription medications, their gut health is going to be compromised. It's just going to be compromised. Aging matters. You know, it's just a fact of life. We all get older. It's what you aspire to. We're all going to get older. So there are things that just happen in our bodies, and our bodies change. So we're not producing the enzymes like you did when we were 30. We're, as disease states change, or as the bad bacteria begins to grow in our gut, then we may not be diagnosed with anything. Like I thought I was basically healthy. I didn't feel bad at all, right? I felt good. But there was a disease kind of growing that I didn't know anything about. So aging, is an issue. And to this day, I've not taken any medications. I was not a candidate for chemo or radiation. The type of cancer I had was not treatable by chemo or radiation. And when the doctor first told me that, I went, oh snap, this is not really what I wanted to hear. But you know what? In retrospect, it was a blessing. It was a blessing, because chemo and radiation also takes a toll on your body that lasts for a long, long time. And I can sit here and I can say today I'm healed, but it's because there are certain things in my life. It's God. He did the major work, but He also showed us that there are certain things that we need to do and do differently. So we've changed our diet. We've changed products that we use, that we apply to our body, apply to our skin. And we begin to study this stuff to help educate, hopefully, other people, but at the same time to look at it and say, you know what, this isn't the way my body was designed, and I can live longer, I can be more productive for a longer period of time while I age. It's okay. So, your gut is your own internal, self-sufficient healthcare system. It's all self-contained. The enzymes, the probiotics, the prebiotics, they all work together. And when they work together in concert, we will have good health. When they begin to get out of balance, then we need to really think about it. It's like, what's happening? How can I be more proactive in feeding myself what I need so that my body then reacts? The other thing, I want to go back to, I'm going to go back to a slide you guys can't see, but how do you know what you need? And I'm going to say this, and that's just look in the bowl, look in the toilet bowl. If your bowels are producing the way they were when you were young, fine. If it's not, if there's a lot of diarrhea, if there's a lot of bloating, if there's a lot of discomfort, if there's a lot of different things, It's telling you, your body's giving you a sign that something is not quite right. Maybe it's diet, maybe it's a disease state that's beginning. There's a lot of different things. And, I don't want to be real graphic here, but I think you understand what I'm saying. You get visual signs, we're told. We also get visual feelings, or not visual, but we also get feelings. When you feel bloated, you know it. When you're feeling a lot of gas and you're expressing it, expelling it, not only do you feel it, other people feel it. That's not the way, there are certain things that are natural, it's what it is, we all have it, and there are some things that are way in excess, and when it's out of balance to what's normal, it ain't normal. It's a sign that you need to do something different, or to think about it and investigate it. And it could be as simple as changing a diet, changing a beverage, changing an application of a soap, or it could be more indicative of something else happening. Is this making sense? So we are what we eat, but we are also what we digest, what we process in our bodies. And our bodies are designed to process. Remember that. We're also, and the evidence of it in a lot of ways, it's in our energy, it's in our health, it's in the bowl. You can kind of see it. You can kind of feel it. And with that, I want to turn it over to questions, if there's any questions. Yes, ma'am. It does. It does. Leaky gut is it would be related to an irritable bowel syndrome, or IBS. When your gut is not producing, it's working too hard to eliminate toxins and chemicals that will thin the lining of your intestinal tract. And so stuff begins to seep out of your intestinal tract into your body, into your bloodstream, into other parts of your body. How do you know if that's happening? What would you guess, based on what we've talked about?
Well, the only thing that's fairly obvious is the toilet bowl in there, but
That would be part of it. You would get there would be a pain or discomfort in your abdomen as well. A lot of times with leaky gut, it also impacts your energy and your focus. So it's gonna manifest in different ways. But if you know you're not processing food, and it's just stomach's rumbling all the time, and it's just never really feeling very comfortable, then something's changing. So how do you what is it? So I'm not going to say investigate it all on your own. If there's a health practitioner that you're aware of, then get it checked out. Or you can try some things like diet-wise, change something. There is a point where if our digestive system is out of balance, and then we try to put it back into balance, and especially if we supplement with a probiotic type supplement, then you may have a couple of week period where you're going to feel bloated, you're going to feel some constipation, you're going to feel different things, and it may not be comfortable. It's your body just adjusting to a new regimen of something being introduced, and it's that civil war ramping up. And so those bad bacteria are getting attacked. And it'll take a while for that convergence to really take over and, for your health to begin to normalize. So it's not unusual that something like that might happen. You hear a lot with keto diets. Same thing happens. It's such a major change to your diet, to your body, that your body kind of repels it at first. It takes a while for everything to kind of recalibrate to the increased protein, to the increased meat. And, once it happens, then you begin to feel better. And people who've lost a lot of weight on keto. A lot of weight. 70, 80 pounds in a matter of, 8 months, 9 months in Jared's case? He's the head pastor at Zion. He's lost at least 80 pounds in the last 9 months. And it's just so obvious. Physically, you see it in his energy. But he's changed his diet. That was the big thing in his life. The one thing I'll say about meat, and Susan and I, we eat meat some. We had a little bit of chicken last night. Occasionally we'll have some steak or a hamburger. But generally, we've gotten away from meat, and we have a plant-based diet. So I don't want to say vegetarian, I'm not going to say vegan, but we are definitely in that path where we're going in that direction. Meat, it takes roughly 7 to 10 days for it to fully digest out of your system. So if you're on a keto diet, your intestinal tract is just loaded with all this meat, and it takes a long time for it to all eliminate, for all of it to be processed. And that's not necessarily the healthiest thing, because if you have bad bacteria in there, it's going to begin to manifest into something different. Does that make sense? So it's something to be very aware of. Any other questions? Well, it has been a pleasure. I hope it's been somewhat informative. If you have any questions, and I'd love to be able to answer them, either afterward or through email or however we want to do it. But I know I had a surprise. It was on October 4th of 2012 when I had my surgery. So 6 years, almost 6 years. And really, I thought I felt good. I didn't. I had good energy. Other than the stress on my job, I felt really good. So to have the surprise that I had, it really was a big surprise. Yes, Jan?
Yeah, you mentioned stress. Does stress play into the whole digestive scenario?
And to that we all say, yes. It does. It does. Stress has a big, it plays a big role in it. And I'm not sure I understand like the physiology of it. That's not what I was prepared to talk about. But we all know that stress affects, what you think about. It affects the outcomes that you anticipate. And it's just been amazing to me that when you think about, what we think about is what we tend to get. You understand? So worry does not help, because what it manifests is a lot of times are those things that we worry about. If we just ignored it and focused on what we're supposed to focus on, then we will get that, because that's what we're focused on. That's what comes to us. We've had so many examples of that in the last few months, of just evidence where we change our mindset, we change what we think about, and all of a sudden opportunities come, or something else happens. And including working on this presentation. I had some problems with the computer. At one point, PowerPoint crashed on me, and I could have gotten all upset. And I just said, Lord, I don't know where you're taking this, but I'm giving you the keyboard. I'm giving you it's all yours anyway. You just do it. So I had to literally shut down the computer, and then brought it back up. Everything was restored. It took me right back to the page, and I hadn't saved a thing. So something happened. Yeah. But it's because I didn't focus on losing it. I focused on getting it back. And I focused on what power is. Because it's not my power. It's not the power of Apple. Anyway. Well, no, thank you. I appreciate it. And I hope you found this beneficial. I have an ebook that is almost written. If anyone's interested in it, it's going to go into a little more detail. For example, the types of enzymes that you would look for in a vegetable or a fruit or something that would be an enzyme-producing thing. Same with the components that go into a prebiotic. What are some of the components that you look for? So if you end up with going with a supplement of sorts, that you know what you're looking at, because you can look at the ingredient deck and you can find that that's actually in a product. So anyway, thank you.